that Christmas of 2014 was the Christmas that I got sick. I was not feeling really good. Sneezing, coughing, stuffed up. Although I never felt like incredibly sick, like nauseous sick. But nonetheless. But I still enjoyed Christmas and had a really good time. I remember, having the yearly tradition with, making, the Smokies and then the spinach artichoke dip. That was something that we did for Christmas Eve. And then that evening, for dinner we had timbala, which is a dish that Marian Esposito made, which has like a, Cheerio spaghetti with, like, it's a casserole. That morning, for Christmas, I woke up. I was still young, so that, instant stimulation didn't bother me yet. But I got, Play-Doh. Little people, like figurines of people. And also Mad Libs. I remember that I was really, really into doing Mad Libs. We went down to my grandparents. Genitalia season 24 was still going. I always looked forward to seeing that on, Mondays and Fridays, at the beginning and end of every week. That was one of the good parts about 5th grade anyway. But if only that Christmas had gone differently. But it happened the way it happened. I was watching an episode of Rudy Maxa going to somewhere in the Caribbean. And also, I saw for the very first time the Great British Bake Off, the Great British Baking Show. Season 5, was a very, was a very, very good show to see. I'm sure that you've seen it with the bakers, and you have the signature challenge, the technical challenge, which is Judge Blind, and then the finale. And they have different themes, like, for instance, week 1 would be cake, week 2 would be bread, week 3 would be pies and tarts, desserts, you name it. So, the day that I got back from Christmas, we were switching classrooms. I probably went to the old one for starters, and then I just went to the multi-purpose room, which was blue and green. And that way, all 3 classrooms, including, Miss Brooks and Miss Jacobson's classrooms, were together in one area. We always sat in lines just kind of, sat there in the morning, always, in the morning, and everybody was talking, and that was, the thing that they got, mad at and irritated by, is how much that they talked. Let me tell you that they meant business, and they weren't having none of it, and just 2 out of the 3 of them were meanly tough. Again, Mrs. Mort, my 5th grade teacher, would be way over there to the negatives. Mrs. J would be kind of in the middle. So given the choice between her and her, would, most definitely be her, Mrs. J. We would have gotten along better. And then over to the positives would be Miss Brooks. And and I think that, Miss J's demeanor was not that mean or anything. I was younger, and when you're younger, you're more sensitive to, people's tones of voice and the delivery of what they say, and I certainly was, so, yeah, that's how it went. So for kind of the first day, we kind of got situated with the new classroom. I know that, the ALDC team was just, having their first trip to Los Angeles at the time, in the winter time of 2015. So, I was due for a choir concert. We would have a choir concert. I would have a choir concert, that we practiced all fall coming up, in the winter time, that my grandma would come down to see. Like, she came down in, early fall, and then we went to, Olympic Flame, which is like it's like a Greek, restaurant, that we used to go to. It's authentic Greek. And then, the next day, on Saturday, she would be, leaving. And then that following Sunday, I would be watching Ernest and Christmas. It was a dull day, Sunday. Then, as Valentine's Day kind of came on, it was around the time when we would go back to the Annette Nature Center. And one of the things that I struggled with was, reading comprehensional. It's just, I was just fretting about a comprehension test, and I remember the night before making a list of possible answers, for possible questions that, and when I did the test, none of them were answered, and I didn't get myself into reading at the time, and I really, if I could redo time, put this brain in the body that I was in, then I would probably be reading as an escape in that kind of situation. You know, when your life is just discontent around you when you're in that kind of situation, you don't have TV, phones, that, you turn to reading to get out of that. And that's one of the really, really beautiful things, and I think that's disappointing that, in this day and age, it's difficult to get motivated to that. And I bet that and I'm not going to say that people back then had better imaginations, but you could more concretely develop your imagination if you were living way back in the day. So anyway, and by the way, this test was over Lewis and Clark, and we were doing, kind of going back and forth, American history, social studies, science. I can remember I was taking my my bag and my folders, and maybe I had a binder with something that I carried in my notebooks. I was walking down the hall to Mrs. Brooks' classroom because we were switching, and that was and that was after they found out about the voice issue. And I just did not want to open up to that because, and I didn't do it all the time because, obviously you can't, just talk in like a fake, voice without thinking of it, So when I thought of it, then I probably did, but, I was stimulated about other things. So when I was unconscious, I did slip back into that other voice, but apparently, just that's how it happened. And I remember my teacher asking me, "Why do you hesitate over everything I say? When I ask you a question, why do you falter?" Well, can you answer that question? Because I think that you have a pretty good answer. You are standing here making me nervous, and I feel like I'm constantly walking on eggshells with you. And I just could not get it out because I did not want her attention. I really didn't. So, and this was during recess one day. It was probably later into the winter time. But so I was walking down the hall, just walking down the hall to Miss Brooks' classroom for extra math. Mrs. M came, just was standing, just right in front of me. She was just, by the door. And she said, "Wait, hold on a moment, stop." And then she got mad at me, directly got mad at me, saying, and there was another time when you said, she said, you need to keep track of stuff. and when I had my associate at the time, and I went up to her desk in the fall and asked her, "This is Mrs. Wilson back?" And she said yes. However, when you get over to middle school, you're not going to have her, and I think that you can do things independently. And also, you can go online and search things, or 5th grade, or, things like that. If I known her differently, I would take her up on the things that she was saying, but I just felt like disregarding all of that, because I just did not like her. And again, I have to bring up the astrology bit, because the closest resemblance that I can think of for her would be Nancy Fuller on Farmhouse Rules, and she was born on the 27th of March. And I think that that's really badly representing the sign. But anyway. And some of it was encouragement, but I just did not think of it as such. So anyway, this was Thursday, prior to going to the United Nature Center, where we would, have like a winter survival edition, episode 3. She told me that apparently I had to take the textbook that we were using for reading comprehension and sit at a picnic table and read it, while everybody else would be playing and having fun. And again, I just took that to heart, and I was not looking forward to doing that. And that was not only one of the hallway incidents that happened, and the next day, fortunately, there was a sub deal, and I didn't have to worry about that. One day, this was another day when I was just standing out in the hallway. A 4th grader just was, coming down the hall, minding his own business, just unaware, just kind of oblivious to whoever was around him, just running. And then my teacher went, "Hey!" And then she just went up to him and got in his face and talked meanly down to his face, saying, "You better not do that when you get to 5th grade." Something like that. And she was making him feel uncomfortable and giving him a threat, and, really wrongly addressing the issue. And I'm sure that he was walking further down the hall saying, "Well, I hope I don't have that teacher, but thank goodness I don't have her as my teacher," because that gives such a bad first impression and such a bad, just shadow that tries to, ruin your day or ruin your path back, and that's just not a right thing and a nice thing to do. It will probably, go on to haunt him, something like that. I don't know, but and my teacher had her hair colored kind of a light pinkish colored hair, at the time. And after I was done with 5th grade, she would go on to be a 4th grade teacher, apparently. And let's hope that she would be a better 4th grade teacher than she was a 5th grade teacher. I don't know. I know that my associate, I was just walking, in Walmart with my mom, and my associate said after that happened that, I'm still working, with Mrs. Moore and things like that. And what was funny was that in the summer of 2015, I don't know if my grandma was there or not. We planned a little excursion, kind of a fun outing to the zoo. We would go to the zoo. Like the Blank Park Zoo. We were standing in line, probably waiting to get food, because we were going to sit down for lunch, and who did we see at the zoo? I saw my teacher. And she was very, very nice. She kind of puts on a nice, facade, when, people meet her, and I just hope and pray that it's genuine and it's not manipulative by any means. I don't think that someone like that would, be that way. Let me tell you, if she sat down with us for lunch, I would open up. With my family around, I would open up and say, I did not have a good experience, and she made me feel just really, really uncomfortable, and she would probably, I didn't mean to do that, make a sort of, apology and things like that. And, I'd really, really have kind of a heart-to-heart time and moment, with her about that, and then it would end on a very positive note, and my thought, my feeling about her, kind of a small grudge I held, would be diminished. We would understand each other. That would have been very, very nice. And I think that now, if I were to bump into her again, I don't want to, go about bringing up the past, but I would, if we would go sit down and have lunch sometime when this whole thing is over, then I would open up and I would not be shy with the new version of myself in 2021. Make eye contact directly. And I would tell her. And then we would depart. And it would be kind of a heartwarming moment. And I would be left feeling a sort of uplifting impact. And just that kind of demon that I, feel about her would be just diminished, and there would be a softening there, and there would be an understanding and a compassion. And that would be a very, very special moment that I don't really think is going to happen, but if it does, I, and if you run into people, you don't want to start, hashing out, the past and things like that, but if it was like an extended visit, then most definitely, most definitely. But no, it wasn't that at all. We just bumped into each other when, she said, "Oh, it's nice to see you," and, "What are you doing at the zoo?" And then I just probably said something, and, it's so disappointing because when we bumped into her right then and there, she was very, very nice, enthusiastic, kind of surprised in, a good, positive sort of way. And I wish that version that I met before it all started at the open house showed up throughout the whole catastrophe of 5th grade. And I'm probably exaggerating, making it out to be more than it was, but I was younger at the time, and I would probably be viewing it and, feeling it, probably very differently if it happened now. I did recently have an English teacher in high school who did bear a slight resemblance to her, and she was very, very different. Very different. Very, very kind. Very welcoming. She wouldn't just completely flip and get infuriated at any moment. She had much greater patience. Just I could go on, but I wish that her, the English teacher that I had, I wish that was the teacher, that was my only teacher for a year. Well, not exactly a year, but